So, as an art project, I faked my death.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, like, fake my death in the normal way where you, like, find a body or anything like that. I just, stopped using social media.
Mm-hmm.
I am here for a 4-month trip, from the States, and, 2 months in, after posting relatively frequently, I stopped posting and logged out of Facebook, logged out of iMessages and everything that people had been using to contact me. I put a stop to.
Mm.
And I was going to stay gone for 2 months, and just, like, not check in, not look at what was being posted, or see if anyone was doing anything. I was just going to disappear and then suddenly arrive back and not be dead. But the plan kind of changed.
Okay. In what way?
Well, the thing is, I had set up a different Facebook account to keep track of the friends I made in Europe. So I had 2 people who were in the know about my project who also were added on my original Facebook. And they were seeing what was being posted, and they started sending me things saying, hey, look what your mom said. And so I was seeing this stuff that I didn't want to see, and, you know, before I actually did it, I didn't really know what it was going to actually be like. So it was kind of like a wake-up call, like, oh, this is a real thing that you did. This is actually happening. People are actually responding to this. It's real, you know, and I felt really shitty about it. Like, you know, I felt like I had done something really stupid, and I felt really bad because, like, people were actually really worried about me. And
Because you erased your account and just weren't on Facebook anymore.
Right. Yeah, so they were like, well, she's probably been kidnapped, or, like, I don't know, there were some people who were, like, making movie references. Like,
alright. Sounds like a very strong reaction to something really, well, to banality, if you ask me.
mm-hmm.
But then again, I don't know what your history is when it comes to Facebook. I mean, I don't know how frequently you used Facebook. I don't know.
Well, I don't really post very often, but I do definitely use it, like, to stay in contact with people. Like Facebook Messenger, I use it like texting.
And no one ever considered that if something would have happened to you, like falling off a cliff, right? Dying in a plane crash or something, that at one point maybe a guy from the embassy or the police from France may have called your mum or something.
Well, the thing is, it didn't go on for long enough for that to happen. The last time that I spoke to my mother was on the 6th. She noticed that I wasn't responding to messages very soon after. I actually, the last time I talked to her was on the 6th. I logged out of Facebook on the 8th, and I think she started noticing on the 10th. She started asking people if they'd heard from me. And it was only about 10 days of me being logged out. I think if it had gone on longer, like, she was contacting authorities. She was going to check my bank account and see when the last time I withdrew was and where, and they were going to find me. But
what about picking up the phone and just trying to call you?
My phone is shut off.
Okay.
I made sure there was no way to contact me.
Okay. Why?
I'm not sure.
Just to see if you can live without Facebook, or with the idea in the back of your head to show, all right, guys, we are so dependent on Facebook. We are communicating through that all the time. I mean,
I wish it was.
I don't know what was the idea behind it. I mean, I find that, I mean, I can remember when I was a teenager or something like that, Facebook, smartphones, all that stuff didn't exist. So for me, it's something that is not that far off, that idea that you can't communicate all the time, that you actually have to use the landline to call your mate and say, all right, hey, let's meet there, and by the bus station. Oh yeah, by the bus station at 3 o'clock. And then you showed up, and if the guy didn't show up within the next 15 minutes, then you just went home, did something else. But nowadays, I don't know, where does the idea for you come from?
Well, I actually got the idea about 6 months before I came to Europe. I saw someone had posted something on Facebook where they were upset that they found out that their friend died through Facebook. Like, somebody posted something saying, oh gosh, Jimmy died. And they were like, well, like, I wish I had found out some other way other than this guy posting. And they were upset about it. So
Oh, it can be upsetting, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, only means that you don't really, kind of sheds a weird light on your friendship, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right? In a way, you know, I mean, but then again, maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, Georgie was saying something about, like, you go back to the 50s and it could be weeks before you find out someone died.
Yeah, totally.
Go back even further than that and it could have been years.
Yeah, or decades.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, true, but it's something that, I don't know, Facebook and the whole social media thing is not my favorite, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
We are not friends, you know. The pure fact that every connection you have in your network is called a friend, I think that's ridiculous. That completely makes the word friend obsolete.
Right.
The meaning of that word is completely destroyed. It's not, you know,
Right.
and replaced with something complete by banality of nothingness.
Right. Right. And it is kind of weird, like, you know, like somebody you barely met. Oh,
Yeah.
but we're friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
But it's like, you're just acquaintances, really.
Yeah.
You might not even ever talk.
Exactly. You met at a party, you had a beer, but that's it. You know, you will probably never meet again, and if you would ring up that guy and ask him for a place to sleep, he would say, who the fuck are you?
Right.
Oh, I'm the guy you shared a beer with the other night. I was drunk, I can't remember, you know what I mean? So, yeah. I don't know. So the whole... Is it something that you thought about in you study art? I got that right, okay. Is it something that you work on? Like social media, criticism of social media, or thoughts on social media, or on modern life, on how social structures work nowadays?
Social structures to a certain extent, yes, but not. I don't really do anything criticizing social media. No.
That's interesting. Okay, because it could be interpreted as such.
No, I know.
You know, you're the whole idea of faking your own death, but that would mean that you would have to make it like on purpose back then. The decision to say, all right, yeah, I faked my own death. I just, you know, shut down my Facebook account. Did you just shut it down, or did you really like erase it?
I just logged out because
Logged out.
if I had
It was
erased
still
it,
there.
if
Yeah.
I had erased it, then people would have been like, oh well,
Definitely,
she
yeah.
just deleted
Yeah.
her Facebook. That's weird.
So you just didn't update your Facebook account. basically.
Right.
You
Plus
didn't
it
really-
shows when you last logged in.
Yeah, true.
So
When you haven't logged in for a couple of days. Well, but when it comes to that, I mean, there are a couple of old school buddies. They're also on Facebook and that I haven't talked to in ages, and they don't even know if they ever been online. I mean, there are people who don't really use Facebook, who have an account but don't really lock on to the whole thing.
right. I think
Better things to do with their lives, maybe.
right. Yeah. So I know that my friends that I talk to like on Messenger, or like my mom, like there are two people primarily that I talk to via Facebook. My friend Matt and my friend Davey, and then there's my mom. And I know that all three of them would like look in their messenger bar thing and see, oh, okay, this person's online right now. I can talk to them, and you know that person's immediately accessible. But I also knew that I know that they look for me, like, okay, this person, she's online, I can talk to her, cool. So they would look and see, oh, she hasn't been online in 48 hours. That's weird. Like,
Yeah, maybe that would be weird. Yeah, I mean, they've been last year. I've been to India for a month, and I didn't take anything with me. Not a phone, not a camera, nothing. No laptop, nothing. It was quite relieving. I mean, I'm not a spiritual guy, and I don't believe in that crap. But still, I must say it was interesting to be away from all that,
right.
and it changes your perspective on the whole thing. You know? I mean, okay, for my folks, it was alright. He's in India. They knew that I wouldn't take anything with me. The rare occasions I went to a internet cafe or something was only to write an email, right? To say, hey, I'm okay. But more like a letter, if you like. So yeah, I don't know. It's a good thing, once in a while, I guess. Not to be. I wonder sometimes if it can be an addiction, when something that you have to do. I don't know. An interesting thought. A bit cruel, though, when you think about it, right? Must have been awful for your mother,
Right.
right? And then, and your friends, obviously. Yeah, sure. But think about it. You can't reach your child, and it's somewhere in the middle of God knows where. We're in Europe then, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not like I was in.
Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, still. So, and now they know about it. And what did they say? What was their reaction to your
Well, my.
fake death?
It. So, most of them think that I did it because I was feeling very lonely. They thought that I wanted to see who cared about me. Like, they just think I was depressed. And so they're being really nice to me. Like,
Do you have a history of depression?
I'm bipolar, so I mean
Okay.
it's cyclical, right? But I mean I consider myself the happiest person I know, because even when I'm depressed, I know, like, I'm gonna be happy later. That's how bipolar works, right?
Whatever goes down, goes up again.
Yeah, exactly.
Just have to get through it, and then,
Yeah. Yeah. So
That's a really interesting way to look at it. Yeah, man. I like that. I like that. That's cool. That's good. That's very optimistic, though.
yeah.
So they are being very nice, or
Well, yeah, and I feel shitty about it because I don't feel like I deserve that. You know, I did this shitty thing. They should be mad at me. I think like for
why did you do this shitty thing? I mean, obviously you did an experiment there.
right. And
But
usually when I do experiments, it's not like, oh, I'm gonna put this chemical and that chemical and I think it'll fizz. It's more like, dude, I wonder what would happen if I put these two explosive things together. Like, and you know, most people would be like, oh, they'll probably explode. But I'm more like, let's see what happens. I don't know.
Maybe it looks great.
Maybe it's gonna be purple. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's just, it's less about like trying to find this one thing and more about like trying to see everything that happens. And what's been interesting for me through having these conversations is like there are all these things that I didn't even think about that are happening here, like the social media thing. Like for me it was just like, how do I fake my death? Oh, well, the first step is to not talk to anyone because dead people don't talk, right? So
Normally they don't.
right.
Normally they don't.
So, and it wasn't about like becoming untraceable or anything. I didn't shred my passport. I didn't stop using my bank card or anything like that. You know, if they contacted the authorities, I was willing to be arrested or whatever happened. Like, I just wanted to see how far it would go, what would happen. And mostly I was interested in what would happen to me, like, because it's not just them not being able to contact me, it was me not being able to contact pretty much everyone I knew. So
yeah, but come on, you were traveling, so you meet new people all the time. You know what I mean? So basically, you just have to go down to the next bar and say, "All right, hi, I'm here from the US." You're from,
well,
right? So there you go. Have a beer with me. Yeah, there you go. Well, cheers. The only thing would have been, all right, do you have Facebook? Oh no, not right now. That would have been the only thing. That really could have happened. That would have been different, though. But yeah.
right, but I've only been in each place I've gone for about a week, and sometimes I haven't been so lucky. Like here, I met like 30 people instantly that have all been very friendly, and but like in other places, I'd been staying a lot in the hostels, so like maybe other people were there for one night.
Yeah.
And I wasn't very lucky with finding friends. And I did experience a lot of loneliness, and I expected to, I expected this project to turn into a bunch of videos of me like sitting there crying and talking about how fucking alone I was, and how shitty I felt about like, making everyone believe I was missing and, you know, shit like that. I guess that's what I expected it to be, which is kind of like stupid and depressing, but
Yeah. Well, but the question is, for me, why did you want people to think that you're gone, dead, lost, what, God knows what? Why?
I have no idea. I'm actually making these videos hoping that I'll figure that out.
Okay, but it was the idea that you said, like, all right, I want people to think that I'm gone.
Right.
That was the idea behind it. Whoa.
And I think mostly I wanted to document what would happen to a person were they to do that, right?
That's a tough one. I mean, do you feel like you accomplished something for you? Or is it still...
Sometimes I feel like it's getting somewhere, like it might be something that could become interesting, and a lot of times I just feel embarrassed, you know?
Why?
I don't know, just because like I did this thing that like a kid would do. Like kids do this to
True.
find out
They
who
run
cares
away.
about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
I mean, that's not why I did it, but I still feel embarrassed because,
Hmm.
um,
Well,
you know, it seems like a thing someone would do for attention, and
yeah, that's what people said to you, right?
right,
You just said the most people said like, all right, man, you just did that because you were depressed and you just wanted to see who cares, and now you're trying to prove them wrong, but but it sounds like you're in a bit of a pickle there, because you did that art in a moment of, it sounded like that, like in a moment of, oh yeah, I'm gonna do that,
hmm
and
yeah, like it was
now
just
you're
like
lacking the theoretical foundation that could say, all right, man, someone who says, all right, you did all that stuff, all that spiel just because you want attention, and you because you're depressed. You can't really say anything against that because you don't had the theory for it in the first place,
yeah, exactly,
right?
right, and
So that's what you're doing right now. It seems like you're trying to
trying to
find
figure
a
out what it.
yeah.
Well, I mean the yeah the thing is I was going to disappear for 2 months, right, and spend that 2 months trying to find an answer for why I did it, and do it in this climate of being fake dead, you know. And what was interesting about planning the project for so long before I did it and actually having gone through with it is it changed my perspective on like everything. Like I would see shit everywhere that related to it, like posts that my mom did about how she dealt with grieving, and like I have this other friend. I was having panic attacks before I came to Europe because of this plant experiment, and I was talking to my friend about it, and I asked him if he was afraid of anything, and he said he was most afraid of death. And so it was just like, whoa, all this stuff, you know, like I've just been really noticing when people were talking about grieving or death or anything related to that kind of thing, and those things have like hit me a lot harder than normal, because normally it's just like, oh, you know, you're talking about something that's interesting, okay, move on. But now it's like I really focus on that and internalize it and think about like, you know, if my mom is saying she doesn't know how to deal with grief, then I'm like, well, how would she deal with me disappearing? Like,
True, but that's something that is, and there you go. That's something that is actually really interesting, because that's, uh, at least for someone not being from the U.S., it seems to be U.S. American issue with within the U.S. American society, grief, dealing with trauma, dealing with the fact that bad things happen.
right,
And ever since 9/11, it has become so omnipresent in everything you find in in American culture. If it's games, if it's books, if it's movies, music, you find it everywhere. The that they, yeah, I'm it's something that I'm trying to figure out for a long time by now, because there is a difference between how the American society deals with trauma, grief, and the fact that bad things happen, and how European society deal with it, or Australians, or Russians. Um, sorry for these generalizations, but there's, I think, still traditions in those in those different societies, how to deal with that. And when it comes to Europe, or Russia, Asia, Africa, everything, pretty much every other country than the US, they all went through a lot of grief in their history, through a lot of through so many traumas, and 9/11 was the first time in, what, 150 years that so many lives were eradicated in the U.S. at once. I mean, you had the Civil War, but that was the very last time
Well,
that.
Pearl Harbor.
Well, Pearl Harbor was not mainland.
Right,
that
right.
was a military base somewhere in the ocean. You know, that was not America. That was Hawaii, right? Was it Hawaii?
I don't think so.
Anyhow, it was in the Pacific. It was a military base. It was not civilians who died there. Same with the Civil War. It was not civilians who died there. For the rest of the world, civilians are the first to die, and everybody knows it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we're in Berlin. That's like.
You see.
Yeah.
And I don't know where else you've been in Europe.
I hate it when it does that.
Hmm.
The low battery thing makes it freeze the video.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you still have the sound, but not the video. Oh, nice. Hi, bye. So where have you been in Europe?
I started in Italy, in Venice, and I've been to Switzerland twice, Basel and Zurich, Brussels in Belgium, London, UK, Amsterdam, Netherlands, Cologne, and
So basically everywhere, eh?
yeah, and I still have France and Spain to go.
Great. That's a good trip, I would say. Yeah, but then you've seen a couple of places already, and that's my experience, at least, from the few places this very earth I've seen. That everywhere people are confronted with terror, death, blah blah blah, and that for a long time the US was a safe haven. I mean, that's the idea, right? You come to the new world and you start a new life there, a better life, of freedom for everyone, right? Except for black people, obviously. But you know, that idea is one of the basic myths of the US. So now you can. Now it makes total sense that suddenly that paradise was shattered. That idea, that picture of paradise was shattered. I don't know. It's an interesting question. It's an interesting fact that the US has the highest rate of shrinks, and people who go to shrinks to get medication for their depressions, blah 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 blah, and all that stuff. Sigmund Freud once said that there are only two nations that are immune to psychoanalysis: the Irish and the Russians. They just don't talk. No, but I mean it's generalization, of course, but there is a mentality and it could be a mentality issue. What you pointed out that your friends and everybody suddenly went totally, oh my God, right? Just because for 10 days or something you were just not online. You know, have you seen Taken?
No.
With Liam Neeson.
No.
It's exactly that very fundamental archaic fear that movie lives from, right? All right, the girl in that movie is 16, right? So she goes to Europe, evil Europe, right? Goes to Paris, and of course she gets captured by some kind of slave owner or something, right? Some bad people. Liam Neeson has come over to Paris and shoot everybody to free his daughter. So
That's very American.
that's very American, isn't it? No, but what I mean is that in that movie, especially I haven't seen the other Taken 2 and Taken 3 and God knows one, but I've seen the first one, and the first one really shows that very fundamental basic fear of going back to Europe. My kid goes back to Europe, and why don't you go to, I don't know, Washington, for example, see the capital of our great nation or something. But Europe, no, you can't go to Europe. I mean, that's very far away. I mean, Europe is a dangerous place. Well, maybe it's not. Who knows? But maybe it's parents all over the world. How old are you?
22.
22. Oh, man, you're old enough to handle yourself, eh?
Yeah.
One should think, at least.
I like to think.
All right, there you go. Does your mom think that too, that you're old enough to handle yourself?
Yeah, since I was 16.
All right, so then why did you get so scared that just because you didn't log on to Facebook, maybe what would have been, let's say you went, instead of Europe, you went to Azerbaijan. No, that's a bad example. Siberia. You went to Siberia. Maybe they don't have Facebook there. Who knows? What would she have done then? So what would have been would still have been an issue that you?
Well, if there was no Facebook, then I'm sure there would be other ways to contact, like email or, like there would be some way to keep in contact, and I would. There's there's like always a way to contact nowadays, right?
Yeah. I mean, the step is, you can still argue that the step itself is quite harsh. If it's just, what did you try to prove? That we come back to that question. What did you try to show the people? The world?
I don't know.
Yourself, maybe. That you can do it, that you can live without Facebook for 10 days?
No, I think the thing is, I did it with Facebook, but it wasn't about Facebook.
What was it about then?
I'm not sure.
Because if you wanted to try if you wanted to do an experiment of, they wanted to see how people react in that kind of situation, then I think it would have, you don't really know because you haven't talked to them. You don't really, you don't really have an insight. Everything you got now is their perspective, the perspective after they know that everything was just a scam.
Right.
Right? So they look back at those days and think of themselves as a fool. So they will be angry with you and will not give you an insight how they acted back then.
Right.
Right? So it's a tricky one.
Maybe I was more interested in seeing how they responded to having been fooled, like less about how freaked out they got and more about how pissed off they got after they found out it was not real.
Were they angry with you? Like,
some people, yeah.
Like to an extent that you really had a fight and like an argument, a very strong argument, like, yeah, with shouting and stuff.
Well, with one of my friends, it's interesting. It was a friend that I expected to just forgive me. Like he just has the kind of personality that I felt that he would understand, even if he would be understanding even if he didn't understand. But he got more mad than anyone really, and it was only through my mom telling him that I've never experienced grief before. She thinks that if someone I have known had died, in the past that I wouldn't have done this. And she pointed that out to him, and I.
You've never experienced grief before?
Mm-mm.
Never? Well, your mom could be right.
Yeah, she could be.
Grief is not a nice thing, man. I'm telling you, it's not cool. Definitely not. But I don't know. I'm trying to put myself into the situation that a friend of mine just disappears for 10 days, for 2 weeks, maybe 3, and suddenly he or she's back again. Says, "All right, yeah, it was all just a joke, haha." Like, oh yeah, okay. If you think so, fine. Don't know. It really depends, though. I don't really tend to worry though that if something bad happens, it can also happen. You just take a step out of your door and then you get run over by a car. So there's no point in thinking just because you go to God knows where that something bad happens to you. Just because you're online for a couple of days doesn't mean that you lost somewhere, I think. But that's just me. I mean, then again, as I said, I'm a bit old school, and I use Facebook. I use social media, but not really. Maybe not as extensively as you do, or your mom does. I don't know.
My mom's always on Facebook. It's obnoxious.
Well, then that is her primary channel of communication, right? So of course she will be pissed when you play a joke on her like that. Of course. Well, I can understand. That's like she obviously is. When you're obviously so into something that into that pure fact that someone else is always available, right? I remember I have to call a friend of mine. That we talked about it. Okay, let's say someone. We're so used that everybody is always available, right? We're used to that. It's something that we. That thing has been with us since 2007. I think that was the first iPhone. And with the first iPhone, the whole smartphone thing exploded, right? And with that, Facebook became a complete different game. So everybody's available all the time. They're for musicians, for me as a writer, for an artist. If you don't have a Facebook profile, you're not existing.
Yeah, it's super weird.
Isn't it, right? So, and the other day, a friend of mine, and Georgia, she gave us a book full of photographies, right, of the early grunge scene, so mid-'80s, late '80s, early '90s. And in that time, you didn't have something like the internet. It was invented, but it wasn't in use at all, really. So, and there were still bands coming out of that time. The Beatles made it even before that, so artists were around. So somehow, back then, it was not necessary to have it wasn't possible to have a social media profile, to be out there, have exposure, and still you were an artist. maybe became a big name or something. Right? Art will still happen. I don't think that the world is gonna end if we all would lose our social media profiles. If the internet would shut down tomorrow, it would go on, I guess.
Yeah. What I think is interesting, like this, it's kind of a tangent. Just like after the MySpace boom, like people stopped really being able to get famous through the internet. Like, I mean, there's YouTubers, I guess, that still kind of do, but it just to me seems like since social media was invented, like I was talking to a friend about this a while ago. They were like, why aren't there huge like collections of artists and musicians hanging out anymore? Like, do artists and musicians just not get along anymore? And I was like, no, I don't think that's it. I think like artists don't even hang out with each other anymore. Nobody hangs out at all anymore.
Yeah.
It's
I
all
know
just
what you mean.
like, yeah. So there aren't these like cafes where people are getting together and exchanging ideas.
Yeah, true.
Like that just doesn't happen anymore. Like I'm wondering if it's even possible to do an art movement or like happening.
Like in the 60s or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
like yeah, you know, there's no beat movement to be had anymore. Like how do
Yeah, I was thinking about the beats as well when you said that, because as I said, as a writer, it's sometimes pretty hard to find other writers outside, you know, the internet, right? You can write each other, but that's not the same. It's not like sitting in a cafe smoking 20 cigarettes in 1 hour, drinking coffee and talking about ideas.
Yeah.
It's a different thing when you sit in front of your freaking computer all by yourself at home and somewhere on the other side of the planet. As great as that is, right? I love the whole technology thing for exactly that. The whole social media, that you can stay in contact with people if you choose to. But it's a valid point. It's a valid question. Can there be an art movement? Do people still come together, right? Because what can happen is that, of course, those people who don't use social media, who don't use the internet, who don't know about that kind of stuff, maybe don't want to know about it, basically choose the exile from that. They still get together, but they only produce art that is for their niche, because they don't understand the world around them anymore.
Right. So it can't become a movement because it's not contemporary anymore.
Yeah. I'm just making this up on the run, but that would be my speculation. So, because you can't separate yourself from what's going on around you, you can't.
Right.
You can't pretend that the internet, that Facebook, that Google, that all that stuff is not happening, you know? And it's interesting that friends learn of the death of another friend through Facebook. Not because they knocked on his door and found him lying there all smelly and disgusting, but, you know, through Facebook. That's weird.
Yeah.
It is weird. You know?
Yeah.
And
another thing, like I've been traveling for 3 months now, and you know, you said that I could cope with loneliness by just meeting people in bars, but that's not as easy as you'd think. Like I have
the battery again, by the way.
Oh shit.
Sorry.
Thanks. You know, I have had a lot of difficulty meeting people because I don't have a job, I don't go to school, I don't have any kind of institution to force people to hang out with me and be my friends. So, like, I talk about loneliness and someone's like, suck it up, dude, like, get on Twitter or whatever, and I'm like, no, you need friends to be on Twitter.
Yeah,
like,
well,
already.
yeah, but that's a different loneliness. You're still lonely just because you're
Right.
riding with someone, as I said, on the other side of the world. Sorry, mate, but a guy from how does that help me in that very situation? That neglects the whole fact that you sometimes just need a buddy to have a cold one with.
Right.
You know?
Right. And going, I went to coffee shops, I went to bars,
Mm.
and, you know, there were people there.
With
and
laptop.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
laptops. Or they're with other people, you know,
Mm.
and they don't want to be bothered. They don't want to talk to me, you know.
Mm.
And, you know, you used to maybe be able to go into bars and use that as a way to meet people, but like I don't see it anymore.
Mm.
I haven't been able to. It hasn't happened for me. The only people who've talked to me in bars are people who want to get laid.
Oh yeah, that happens, yeah. But even that is not gonna happen anymore, I guess. Sooner or later, Tinder will dissolve that whole thing.
Right.
I mean, it's just think about it. It's fucking awesomely safe, Tinder, right? Everything.
Yeah, you don't even have to meet people.
Yeah, exactly. The whole thing, and Tinder is just social media, on another level, right? On another field. You know, it's basically Twitter with dating. Right. If you think about it, right? The whole concept, you can just, you know, swipe left and right, and you know that's also an awful thing.
Yeah,
When
you're not
you
pretty
think
enough
about
to hang out
think
with
about
me.
it. Think about it.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be the cool kids from school now, right? So just want to hang out with the cool people, you know. Man, sometimes maybe hang out with the weirdos, hang out with the crooked ones, with the ones that maybe look a bit off, you know. Sometimes they have a good story to tell.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they are the ones that will make it in life. I read a study about that the other day that said basically that the cool kids from school, that they, with 22, 23, most of them, or high percentage of them, is already, you know, into drugs, criminal activities, have troubles with relationships, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Weird. So they become the dropouts. I read that somewhere else. Oh, Tim Burton said that once in an interview, that the guys from his class, the quarterbacks, the cool guys,
Yeah.
you know, the guys who put him into
How?
yeah.
Be nice.
She does that sometimes. She's a mean motherfucker sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's alright. Mm.
I just don't want her to mess with the camera.
Oh, she will. Trust me.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
Tim Burton's bullies.
Ah, yeah. So it doesn't matter. I mean, it's an old story. Everybody heard about that probably.
Yeah. It's not surprising. I mean, like, it's in like every movie pretty much. Like.
Oh yeah, that's the basic idea, right? Everybody likes an underdog.
Right.
Yeah, but coming back to the whole, you want to be the center of attention. Oh, don't you? Yeah, coming back to your fake death.
Right.
So what are you gonna do about it? What's the deal now? What's your plan now?
Well,
Are you gonna cut all the little videos together and then show it or promote it somewhere, or what's the idea?
Well, I've applied for a 5-day festival in Cardiff, Wales, and I find out Friday if I got in with this project. If you want, I can show you the proposal that I did. It's interesting because I did it like the day after I cut myself off. So it's still coming from the idea that I would be missing for 2 months.
All right.
So it's I think it's good sometimes to come at something not wanting a specific outcome, because then you'll roll with the changes. And this project has changed a lot over time. Like, I still don't know what it's about, but like, everything that's changed about it has made it more interesting, and I don't know what the final product is going to be,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
eventually I'll figure it out, I hope. Like, maybe it'll take me 10 years.
Maybe.
Like,
Maybe
doing
it'll
this
take
for...
for the next 10 years, eh?
yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, because it's you only have that fact. You have the fact that you abandoned the communication with your friends for a while and with your family.
Mhm.
That's what you have. It's not like you painted a picture or something and now you can show it around. It's more that experience that you made.
Mhm.
Which, when you think about it, suddenly is a very weird experience.
Right, yeah, it's like...
30 years ago, it would have been like a what? So what? You didn't...
You didn't answer a letter?
Wow. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, how old is your mom?
She's, let's see, it's 15. She just turned 45.
45. So she knows that the times when there was just a landline. She was a kid back then when so she comes from that time. So she'd be familiar with that situation that someone doesn't answer for a couple of days.
Mhm.
But still, maybe you get used to that kind of stuff very quickly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's, like, more assimilated than I am. She uses Facebook. She, like, posts something every 10 seconds.
I wonder sometimes when you do that, when you're so caught up in the whole social media thing, posting pictures of your food on Instagram, all that stuff. When you're so busy, having a record of what's going on around you, that you might miss the best parts of it.
Yeah.
I wondered about that,
Yeah,
Let's say you're at a gig, yeah, right? So your favorite band, right? And instead of enjoying the music, being there with the crowd, feeling the room, right? Maybe lighting your lighter, right? Or something like that. What you do is you take out your phone, take a picture, and then post it on Twitter. So you might miss the best moment of the song.
Right.
I wonder about that sometimes. When you're so busy with your phone all the time, do you miss what's going on out there?
Right, exactly. There's actually a performance piece that I'll be doing when I return to the States, where I'm going to spend 24 hours. Every minute on the minute, I'm going to announce the time. And the thing is, like, that's an absurd way to be present in the moment, like, 11:28, 11:29, just on and on. And it's taking it to an extreme where I'm so present in the moment that I am interrupting you while you're talking to me to tell you what time it is.
That's gonna be a fucking weird conversation, man.
Yeah, and then people will be like, well, what the fuck, why are you doing this? And then I'll have to explain, and while I'm explaining, oh, I have to announce the time again, and, like, so it's gonna be interesting, like, I guess I'll explain it 1,000 times in that day, and, but it's dealing with that idea, like, how can you make this record? Like, who are you making it for? Like, if you're so busy making the record, are you ever even going to see it? What's the point?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was wondering. My little baby sister was here to visit me a couple of days ago, and she told me about how many that we were talking, and she said that on Instagram she has so many pictures or stuff like that, right? So she has so many pictures on her phone, and I was like, who looks at them? I do sometimes. All of them? No. You know what I mean? Our phones are full with photos, with digital photos. It's not even that someone will ever see them again. If we find the old photographies of our grandfathers and grandmothers, we can actually look at them because they're there. Our photos are on fucking telephones, and if they're gone, all of that is gone. Poof.
Right.
So there will nothing be left of them. So now, but therefore we have a huge quantity of them. I sometimes just ask myself that. What is that? What's going on there? You know, there's something off somehow. You know?
Yeah.
At least in my opinion. I mean, I'm the one throwing stones right now, but I'm the one in the glass house. Actually, I am. I'm the one who is also part of the whole thing. But I caught myself once in a while, spending 5 hours on the internet surfing around doing nothing basically. And I wonder, really? Do you really want to do that? I mean,
Yeah. Do you want to spend your life?
yeah, exactly. Is that what you want to do with your life? I mean, it's the same thing if you work in a job that you hate. Why? Why? Do you hate your life so much that you really want to suffer in a fucking office, you know?
Yeah.
Staring at a fucking computer screen, obeying everything the fucking prick of a boss tells you, right? Do you really want to do that for 40 years? Right? Working 3 jobs, something like that. Do you really want to do that? Was that the idea that you had in your head when you grew up as a kid? I don't think so. So now there's the thing, okay. You can try to do something, you know, sometimes life screws you over and everything, you can always argue that happens, but, well, then you don't have anything to lose and can at least try to do something different.
Yeah. Definitely.
Live your life, you know, somehow. I mean, if we, it's difficult. The whole social media thing, it has so many positive sides, don't get me wrong.
Right.
It's great. To a certain extent, it's great that I can stay in contact with people on the other side of the world. It's great, awesome. I can work with people from LA so easily. You just have to keep the time and you know, just have to watch out for that because there's a time shift, obviously. But aside from that, we can just Skype. You know, we can just do that, see each other, and that's no problem. It's not like in the fucking 50s where you had to you know, pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a phone call to the other side of the world. You know, if they had a phone back then. Still. Back to the question of why you faked your death. We're drifting. You see that? We're drifting off totally.
That's completely fine.
Totally.
I think that although it wasn't in my head when I began the experiment, I think that it is a big part of it, and I think it's important to think about it.
Definitely. It is a question. Social media is obviously a question. Our understanding of social media, of the digital world, our capability of handling that world, that new world, that's also a big question. But also something like, grief. How do we grieve in that new age,
Mm-hmm.
right? How does the future look like? Is when there's a funeral, do people attend via Facebook?
Yeah. I mean, like, it's like going to a show. Like,
Yeah.
do you post that on Twitter?
Yeah.
It's on
Is
my
it your last post on Twitter, or does someone post it for you? You know, going like, oh yeah, no, he's going down. You know, I don't know. I find it weird that dead people sometimes can follow you on Twitter or Facebook, because they also have Facebook and Twitter accounts. Charles Bukowski has a Twitter account. The man died in the 90s, right? How can that guy have a Twitter account?
Right.
Or was it Facebook? He has a Facebook account, not a Twitter account. But I don't know if he has a Twitter account. It doesn't matter. Why? You know what I mean? They're dead. Be dead. You know? Be gone. And if he would have a Twitter account, he would just probably post drunken rants about bullshit. You know? Something like that. I don't know. It's a difficult topic you got to yourself there.
Yeah.
Interesting though.
Yeah, I think the thing is, I knew that this was an extreme move to make, and that it would be like something falling, you know, entropy, you know, it falls, it explodes, all different directions, it becomes everything, you know. I think it was just like, I knew that this would be something that wasn't just about one thing, and I wanted to see what it became about.
Yeah, that's definitely not only about one thing, but you have to ask yourself the question though, and I think if you answer it honestly for yourself, then that can also bring something to the table, a complete new dimension, aside from the whole political awareness, and that is the very question: why did you want to do that, and what did you feel while you were in that, while you were detached from the communication with your mates, with your family?
Well, why should I do it? As for that, I think, I don't know, I felt driven to do it. Just like it was something that appeared in my head, and I felt like I needed to do it. And I think that it seemed like maybe I felt like I was going to discover something really interesting, and I wanted to be the person to discover that thing that was interesting. And I also think, you know.
Were you aware that it might hurt your mom or your friends?
Yes.
And you took that into account.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. That's a question you could ask yourself. Why? You know, you said, all right, and you, I mean, that's a totally valid point, in my opinion. But who am I judging that? I'm not judging that. So it's just a very interesting thought. You know, you say, and you're totally right. Something would happen if you do that.
Right.
You know, and something you said that you felt driven to do that, right?
And
but why did you feel driven to that?
I'm not sure.
And it's a mystery. You know what I mean? It's something like, that when you get that, I think that will be a big piece of the whole picture.
Yeah, but as soon as I had the idea, I had to do it.
Yeah.
And you know, there were parts of me that were like, well, you know, you could just not. And I was like, no, I gotta do this. And I think part of the needing to do that was maybe I felt like no one else would, and I felt that I needed to do it, not just because I needed to do it, but also because it needed to be done.
Mm.
And
Why did it need to be done?
I don't know yet. I think that that maybe there's some aspect of it that I haven't thought of yet, that somebody hasn't brought to the table yet, because I am having this conversation with a lot of people, you know. And you know, I have a tendency to think about things in one way, and I think everybody does, really. You know,
It's hard to
have
think out
another
of the
perspective.
box.
Yeah. So I know that of myself, that I have this problem, so that's another reason I'm talking to other people, because through talking to other people it brings these other ideas that I can then think about and ingest and sort of maybe come up with something new. And so maybe like the next person I talk to is going to say something, and it's going to be that's what I needed to discover. And that's what this art project is about. That's why this needed to happen. And I don't know what that is yet, you know. Maybe that won't happen. Maybe I'm just fucking crazy and that's not going to happen, and it's...
Oh, it has
I don't
nothing to
know.
do with crazy. You just had the feeling to do something, and that's fair enough. The question is where the feeling comes from, where that thought came from. Maybe you will not unravel that, because maybe it was just, you know, basic instinct, something, you know, and then that leads into a dead end. Then doesn't mean, because then that only means that then you ask the wrong question. Doesn't mean that the whole thing is fraud. That it failed, because look at us. We're talking about this more or less for the last, I don't know, hour or so.
Yeah, hour and 7 minutes.
Yeah, you got there you go. So there must be something to it, right? Well, there's also the question: how did you feel when you were in that zone, in that detached from everybody else? So.
Well, the first 2 days or so felt really amazing. Like I think I was relieved that I had finally done it. Like I had had a lot of difficulty getting to the point where I could do it, and I finally got enough courage to be able to do it, and I felt accomplished. Like I was finally doing something that I needed to be doing, and like I'd been having trouble being able to create anything. Like once I had this idea, it was like I couldn't really do anything else until it was done.